Hey everybody, today we're going to be looking at a fight between NC and Friends and the good old Imperium. This fight's taking place over in Cloud Ring, and I believe it's taking place off of a tower. And I want to get to this right away because this is actually somewhat humorous, but also kind of funny at the same time. So what we have is, we'll go through NC's lineup first. This is a fairly, I want to say roughly standard fleet combo what you see today. We have a couple of, basically we have a Tech 3 fleet of Legions and Proteii. You have a support fleet of Serbs, a couple of recons, logistics, the works, small bomber fleet. And then we're seeing actually some blab treads that are being dropped in what I'm presuming to be to hit the max here. And judging by how many max die, that's very clearly what happens. And then even going further and looking at the progression of this fight, it seems very obvious that these dreadnoughts get dropped in. They start really herfing these max, which I think that they herf even more because I think that the Proteii have a favorite matchup here. And then obviously the supers get dropped, a couple dreads, a bunch of carriers, and basically the entire fleet goes to the entire fight goes to shit really quick. So that's more or less what we're gonna see from NC here, I think. Proteii have a really good match. These are armor max, and so I think our Proteii have a really good matchup here. These fits are actually, I'm not really a fan of these fits running afterburners. You run afterburners on an armor max like this, and you just have no speed whatsoever, especially when you're running the 800mm repeating cannons, the auto cannons. You don't really get that much range. You get decent range, but it's not really enough, even with the two tracking computers, to compensate for the speed. So the reason why I think that the Max are at a disadvantage here is that obviously, if we know anything about Tech 3s, it's that they have a really small sig radius, like a really, really small sig radius, a huge fucking tank, and they do pretty good damage. And with the Proteii, if they're running rails, they have pretty good projection too. And what we actually find in this matchup, I think at least, is that the damage projection on both sides is very, very similar, but the problem that you run into when you're running the Max, and I wonder if we have an idea of what this guy had loaded in. Probably not. The problem that you run into when you're using these materials here is that you cannot get through the resistances on these Proteii. It's been a while, but if memory serves me correct, the Proteii have a high native resist to kinetic and thermal. Yeah, kinetic and thermal, and so really these mechs just have a really hard time trying to get through these, even with the really small EHP. And so it doesn't, like, even without these dreads, I think that this matchup goes really far in favor in NC, provided that they don't just get completely ass blasted. Like, really the only way this goes bad for NC, I think, is if these mechs get on at 0. These recons are, these Proteii here and these locations are able to do work and just start webbing everything down, and then they just get herfed on. Smart Bomb's also kind of useless, in my opinion. A newt would be much, much, much better. Like, I actually have no idea what you're trying to Smart Bomb. Like, if you're trying to stop bombers or something, then that's fine, but newts would be so much more applicable since you're trying to fight at such a close range here. So, it's pretty much it. Let's just get straight to this video here. Audio is shit, so we're just gonna not listen to it. So we see, this is from the viewpoint of the Proteii here. We see immediately, I'm just going to back up a little bit. You see that they're on a perch 200 kilometers away, trying to get onto position onto this this tower here. This is good. And then they're going to warp in, and they're going to put themselves around 60 kilometers from all these materials and all these Vindicators. And this is huge. And this is where you make a really big mistake when you're flying these fleets, because what you have now is, even though you're still within web range of you're still within tackle range of a lot of these ships, you have this situation where the materials are going to be going just as fast as these Proteii, or they're going to be going at a very similar speed, and they can't really catch up. And so if they want to try and do any damage, they're switching to like barrage, and they really need to be using phase plasma to try and do anything here. Phase plasma, or I think it's called Tremor, the high explosive Tech 2 ammo, and so it doesn't end well. So you can see immediately NC's going to go to work. They're going to clear all the tackle that are anywhere close. Just any tackle at all. This is a good idea. All these, you can expect all these mechs and everything to start just approaching as fast as they can at ramming speed. And so I don't know which way they're going. They're just kind of like going wherever, and this is fine. I'm gonna assume that the Serbs here are friendly. I believe they are, and so this actually gives them a really, this is actually really good positioning on the Serbs too. Because what you have here is you're taking your really huge tanky fleet of the proteii, and basically saying that these guys are gonna take the brunt of all the damage from all the Machs and everything, and your Serbs are gonna be closer, or gonna be further away. Meanwhile, any tackle that's gonna come in to try and tackle these proteii should be within prime range for these Serbs to pick off. They're 50 kilometers off, so they could be like a little closer, especially considering most of the looks like most of the Machs are going to be around 100. So these guys get close to like 30 kilometers in, and basically anything that comes in to try to tackle these proteii is not going to be successful. And so this is going to allow these guys to actually do a lot of good work here, I think. So, I mean, at this point, these proteii should actually be running away. Like, as you can see, again, this is just pure ramming speed, get as close as we can. And they're going to try and do what they can to try and get away. Popping Geddons first is a good idea. Your biggest concern here is anything that can really just, any sort of E-war that's going to be in this fleet. So Geddons are a big concern, and they're also going to be, they should be a little less tanky than the Machs, so those are good to hit. I mean, we've already killed the Stilettos. There's not really any Dictors nearby, and so going for Geddons is good here. But I have no idea what those. I guess those Serbs aren't friendly because they're going on in the middle of fucking nowhere. Really, this is a game of patience where you just need to figure out what it is that you want to do here, and just let all these impatient dudes come right at you. Let that happen, and just slowly work your way through. You know, I don't know what the situation is here, but in a fight like this, there's no reason to rush into things. I mean, it's Macharials, right? Like, even with, since these Macharials are running armor and they're running afterburners, these proteii are going to be so much faster, and they're going to be able to catch up to these Machs if they try to run away. So the worst thing that you can do is get yourself into a situation where you need to run. You know, it seems like it would make sense where, like, oh, well, if we need to run, we're quick, we can get away, and that's all fine and dandy. But the problem is, as well, is that I'm kind of bullshitting myself here a little bit, but it's like, you don't want to, one of your advantages is using your speed to catch up to them. And so if you're using your advantage, if you're taking your only advantage and you're throwing it away and saying, we don't need this, this is not our fallback, we're just going to use this, we're not going to worry about this at all, and you're going to just use that to get away, like, you're completely negating the entire idea of what you can do with this fleet, right? Like, you have all the time on your hands, because this isn't like a situation where all of a sudden, you know, this whole entire Mach fleet just disappears, right? Like, they're going to be here on this grid. They have to get a time bridge out if they want to go anywhere. And so if they try to get away, you have your speed to catch up to them. You know, so it's okay if you're sitting, I mean, 70 kilometers is kind of far, but, you know, it's okay if you're sitting at range and just trying to pluck off ships that maybe, you know, dudes that aren't paying attention, or ships that aren't really all that tanky. So that way when you do finally go in, you don't have to worry. You know, you have the advantage there on your own. I haven't seen any wrecks pop up over here from these proteii, and meanwhile there's all these wrecks around here. You know, so it's best here to just be a nuisance, and especially if you're planning on dropping dreads, it's a good idea. You know, there's no reason to force it. Just wait for things to come naturally. You know, you can see Sebastian's all the way out here in his Geddon. He's probably not gonna die. go for a Guardian here. That's good. You know, and once you kill, this is another thing. Like, once you kill a single Logi, it's game fucking on. Like, you immediately go for all the Logi. It's a very good call. And now this Mach fleet is in a shit ton of trouble. They're losing all their Logi very quickly. They're going to have to bring Triage in to try and stabilize this fleet. And meanwhile, this fleet's going in for, looks like they're going in for the kill. So, very well done, very good. This is what you want. I'm expecting, surely no, I'm just like, I'm waiting for the sound to pop up and all these dreads to come in. But what I'm curious to know is, like, how this actually turns out, because in a situation like this, there's actually no reason to drop the dreads, I think. Like, you're killing Logi just fine. Going in at 0 is kind of really, really aggressive. And maybe if you want to go this aggressive, you drop the dreads as well. But at the same time, you need to expect, especially when you're fighting the Imperium, that there's going to be supers, there's going to be carriers, there's going to be other capitals that are able to come in and do the exact same thing. And so, like, if you just want to, like, suicide YOLO to kill some Machs, that's fine. Again, I have no idea I have no idea who this tower belongs to. I just know this is a fight. And so, you know, I think taking a little bit more of a patient approach, it might be a little better here. Going for Geddons again. As soon as you start killing Geddons, if they can kill this Balgorn, holy shit. They do kill the Balgorn. And so, really, as soon as you kill this Balgorn, it's pretty much game on. Like, this is when you start switching to Max immediately. You know, you switch to Vindius is good because they're really in close range and 90% webs hurt. So now you just go all in with the Max. And this is a trade that you should be able to win non-stop. Especially, I'm not really seeing a whole lot of nude effects coming in. I'm seeing a lot of cap going to, well, it'll probably be the Balgorns and everything, but I see no nuding effects going to these proteii. And so that's really good. Hector Bubble goes up. Are we going to see a Sino now? I'm waiting for it. I'm still waiting for it. And so, now get the scrams off and just start going for these max and just gun straight at it. So, you know, again, patience is key here. I don't know, again, I still have no idea why they're dropping the dreads here. Like, at this point, there's no reason to. You have them Hector Bubble, they're not going to go anywhere. Okay, so some Triage Archons do come in, it looks like. So once the Triage comes in, you need to... The big thing when Triage is going to come in like this, looks like there's actually 4, is... First off, it becomes very evident that you're not going to be able to kill Max anymore because they're going to be able to get locked quick enough. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't continue to stay at this range. You know, there's still plenty of ships here that you could probably pop. I don't know how these nesters are fit, but you might be able to get them. Definitely pop the Hurricane. But once this happens, and this is where it gets really awkward, because you now actually want to pull back on range. You don't want to sit tackle here on top of these guys at 0, because now you can no longer really, you can't kill the Macarials, which are going to be doing damage to you. And so, as soon as this happens, you do need to try and pull range immediately. And this is why I wasn't really that big of a fan of coming in close right away. Is if somebody's going to escalate like this, then you kind of, by coming at this close of a range when there's Vindicators, there's Lokis, and there's other proteii in the field, and there's plenty of hard tackle that's really hard to get rid of. Once you go in at 0, with how, you know, fleet comps are currently fit out, it's like it's very hard to then pull range again. And if you do manage to pull range, you're going to lose ships that are tackled. That's just a given. So, I mean, if you can still kill these max, then by all means go for it. But with 4 Triage on the field, I'd be surprised if you'd be able to. Holy shit. This fucking overview. So like, yeah, this Vindicator's not gonna die. The Lokis probably won't die either. And so really at this point, again, you know, kill the Devoter because he's gonna probably has a bubble up. You know, you're not gonna be able to kill a Loki. You know, again, you just need to pull range here because I mean the Morses are on grid now, so they're gonna try and blap these Archons and then probably just continue to go at it. But oh man, I don't know. I really don't know because this is incredibly aggressive. So, I mean, that being said though, like, if the Moroses are insured, like, I think 10 is, I think my problem is that you dropped 10 Moroses. Like, you don't need 10 Moroses to kill these Archons really quick, especially if you're coordinating with the Proteii fleet. You know, like, literally, if you bring in 5 Moroses, even though there's a lot of max, they're apparently not running news. I have no fucking idea why. And so, you don't have to worry about, like, getting yourself nuded out. Here comes all the supers, and so basically all the Morses are literally dead now. So you can get yourself into a situation where you bring in 5 Moroses. You're gonna get blobbed either way, so you're gonna lose them all no matter what. But you don't have to kill all the Archons. If there's 4 Triage Archons on the field and you kill 3 of them, you leave 1 single Triage Archon. Even if you just leave 2 Triage Archons, I would expect this Proteus fleet to be able to go through that. 2 might be tricky if 2 would require you to actually go into one of the triages and try and nuke the other one out. But if there's only 1 Triage Archon on the field, you can definitely burst through these max with all the Proteii on the grid, I think. So, because, I mean, basically what you do now is you put yourself in a situation where it's like, alright, there's 50 hostile carriers on grid, there's a bunch of supers, you know, they're going to kill our Moroses, and then what are they going to go on? Well, there's only going to be one thing left on grid, and that's our Proteus fleet. So, like, now you can't really you can't really stay as long, I guess. Which maybe it happens either way. So even if it does happen either way, and you just didn't bring in as many, tough to say. Really, I mean, I just think 10 is so fucking much, especially if it's only 4 triage. Like, if it was like, alright, the whole entire fucking carrier fleet's here, let's do something really fucking balls deep and just bring in all of our Moroses that we had ready, then sure, why not? Like, you know, bring in all the Moroses and just start blitzing Max as fast as we can. Yeah, like, sure, why not, let's do that. But, 10 at the beginning is kind of sketchy, I think. And so that kind of really wraps up this fight. Like, as soon as these Moroses are dead, you can see the whole entire Proteus fleet's going to pull range. The Mechanical fleet's going to stay as close as they can to the carrier blob, so that way they can stay safe. You know, if fucking Boat wants to get reps, he can get reps easily. If the Proteus fleet tries to come close, well, guess what? There's 50 carriers here. I'm sure some of them can fit the points and webs. And so really at this point, the fight's more or less over. You know, you can see all these fighters are going to come here. The best thing you could probably do... Honestly, I don't know why Jarnobi's still sitting on grid. He must be getting pointed. If he's still pointed, then it's whatever. But like, really, just keep pulling range. Like, maybe if you want to like try and kill some fighters, kill some fighter bombers, go for that, just to be a nuisance. But more or less, there's nothing else you can do here. And so, as you can see, they warp off right away after Jarnobi dies. So, really quickly, I want to go back to somewhere around here, right before the Moroses come in. Or right before they actually start to come in close. Because I can't stress how important, like, this sequence right here, that's what this is. Like, you kill... There's really 2 different paths you can take here. You can take the path that we just saw, where, like, you kill a couple of lads, you realize, okay, we can take this fight, then you just go in straight at 0, and you start doing work. Or, you take more of a slower approach, like, you realize, okay, you can kill some of these Logi, you know, you kill Celestia here. You get no Narrows, and you slowly pick off these Logi. Don't take out all of them because that's kind of a waste. But what you do instead is, you know, you take out most of them. And well, actually, what you could do is you could just take out all of them, and then just go immediately try to headshot the FCs. You know, just like looking at who's on grid here. I mean, obviously we saw Boat and his Damnation. Jay Mason is somewhere on grid in his Nestor too. We saw him during the sequence. But it's like, you could very easily just kill all the Logi because you're plowing through them right now, headshot the Damnation, take out the armor links, and then just keep going. And then, like, literally just plow through all these Macarials before they can do anything. And then if they just decide they're going to drop the entire hammer, then just peace out. You know, maybe you don't get as many Macarial kills, but I mean, you still get Macarial kills. You still definitely win the fight by a clear margin in my book. And just peace. So, coming in at close range here, it's really, I don't see how it's, like, it's necessary if you want to shoot battleships right away, but, like, sitting around, like, 20 kilometers, I think is, like, 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers is fine. But, like, when you're coming in, like, 16, like, right here's the perfect range. And I have no idea what happened with this Logi anchor, because, like, there's no reason these arrows should be this close. But, you know, like, this is the perfect place to be. You know, right at 25 kilometers, it's still, I mean, you're using thorium here, which kind of sucks, but it's still decent ammo. You're not using antimatter, which is whatever, personally. But, if you're running the, fucking... I assume they're running the Scram subsystem, and so overhitting your Scram should be able to get you within range to hit these things, to actually scram some of these dudes, if you were so inclined. Not that it really matters because they're running afterburners, but I think this right here is like, this right here is the decision point where you need to ask yourself what it is that you want to do. If you want to go all in, you can go all in, that's fine. But if you want to, I guess kind of what I was saying earlier, you know, take a more patient approach because you have the speed, like you have the, not necessarily the speed advantage, but rather the agility advantage, you have the mobility advantage. With the proteii, you can perch much easier than these Machs and reposition on grid a lot better. When you have an advantage like that, just take your time. And, you know, I think what I would have really liked to have seen, even though I think this fight still works out pretty well in their favor. I mean, they lose all these dreadnoughts, which is whatever, but they literally roast the fucking shit out of these materials, which is funny as hell. If you take a more patient approach, you club through some of these logistics, which I don't really think they had much. There's only 10 showing here, which doesn't mean much because that's how this shit works. It doesn't show, I mean, obviously, someone probably didn't die, so it didn't show up on kill mails, but there's probably a good chance there isn't that many Logi on grid anyways, and they're just relying on triage eventually. But, if you take a more patient approach, and you can actually get yourself into a situation where you can force the other FC to do something if they're playing late on Logi. Pluck a couple of Logi off, and then once you're able to start killing these Vindicators, and you're able to kill Machs, just do it. Go through these Machs slowly but surely, right? And force the other guys to make the decision to drop the trash. And that is what happens here, but it's a question of, how aware the other FCs are, and, I mean, Boat's experienced, but he's not... He's very, impulsive in some of his decisions, I think. And he's very, stubborn. So, like, you could probably... There's a very good chance that... I think in this fight, and all fights in general, you can actually just slowly burn through these Machs, make it look like the fight's really, really close where nobody's dying. And you could actually, even though the fight itself would probably be longer, you could actually get, you could come out with a bigger reward. Like, you kill a similar number of Macarials, and you don't lose any dreads or anything. So, but it all depends on how you want to FC. It's completely up to your style. If you want to play the patient approach, I think this entire fight lasts this entire thing's like 20 minutes, if that. So, I mean, it's a good amount of time, but it's still, you can play these things really, really patiently, because there's a lot of people in this game that are like, holy moly, 10 minutes have passed and nothing happens. They get really, really impatient, and then they just do things really reactively, and then you can capitalize on that. You can get yourself into a situation where if your objective is this tower, like, you have to recognize, like, how far off these fucking dudes. I believe the objective is the tower, because it looks like these dudes are actually in the tower themselves. Like, you could actually get in a situation where you go fucking full cheese, and, like, these Machs get drawn very far off this tower. Like, let's make that clear. Like, you are very far off this tower in a situation like this. I wonder if we get a good look at it. And so, like, if you have these 10 Moroses on standby, you force these guys to come out, you force the treasure to come on grid right here, then, you could, hypothetically speaking, drop your 10 Moroses, or, drop a couple Moroses, siege the tower, blow it up, and then you just kind of like pray that you get out before the supers show up, and just party, because when they drop the triage, it's like that entire fleet's anchored on that triage. If anybody tries to go and tackle those Moroses that are sieged on the tower, it's game over. Like, they're not going to be able to. There's no way. So, just things to consider. There's plenty of options on what you can do throughout the entire fight itself. So, right before we go, just to kind of enforce this point, I want to try and get a look at when the Moroses come in on grid compared to when the supers do. I'm pretty sure you couldn't get a single siege cycle in, but you never know. So the Moroses, they land on grid at 2026. They're gonna siege right around then. Yeah, these supers definitely come on grid before they can come out of siege. Yeah, so it takes them about 3 minutes. So, I mean, maybe in a situation like that, it's just kind of like unlucky. But you never know. Like, it's 2.5. It's right around 3 minutes here for them to come in. But maybe next time it's a little longer. Like maybe next time it takes them 5.5, and then you can get your Moroses out after you've sieged. So, anyways, I think that's about all I have to want to say here. As always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, as always, please feel free to contact me. Contact me here, send me a mail in game, just the usual. And I will catch you guys in the next video.